Gotta find out. Oh, it's my computer turning on. It is 10:30 at night, and I've just currently working on my investor pitch, or the presentation that I'll be delivering to a pretty awesome room full of sort of like forward-thinking investors on the on Thursday, the 25th of March. So it's been quite cool. But as I was as I was doing the pitch, yeah, like I've had sort of these different feelings come up for me, around like sort of confidence, or a possible sort of every now and then sort of these waves of self-doubt, or like a crisis of confidence. I don't know what the right word is, and I don't know how to explain it, man. It's a bit tricky, this one. But it's also this thing of like when you're running, when you're at the startup phase, quite often the co-founders have to do just about everything. So we're in the business, in the weeds, looking at the details and little bits and pieces. But doing this pitch is actually pulling me out again, to be able to sort of raise my head above the water, or through the forest, and actually see like this is where we're trying to go. Like, here's the bigger picture. And quite oftentimes, like, I feel like because I have to do all this detail, like the detail and the constraints, of like how are we gonna make the finances work? How are we gonna make a particular product bend the right way, or the right settings? Are we getting to the right settings through the right timelines? It can sort of fog up, and so you've got all this sort of work that we got to do on the ground on a day-to-day basis can tend to sort of fog up and distract often the bigger picture, and sort of the forward thinking and the confidence and the vision. Oh, making sense. I feel like I'm just rambling. So like, yes, it's like being sort of, having to almost operate these both levels, like having to then go here through this pitch, having to think really big picture and bring everyone else on the journey. And in the day-to-day, it's like, they're stuck in the weeds, the details, the design, the products and the machines that we need, and the process and the timings and the data, all that kind of stuff. Who are we going to email? So I've been finding that there's often you walk this tension, of whatever thing that you're working on, that you're pursuing. And especially in the early days, you do tend to walk this tension, like unless you have the luxury of hiring other people to be able to, have their superpower, do what they do really well, to be able to take some of these other tasks. So I just forget sometimes, like, oh wow, like actually this is where we're trying to go, and we need to be deeply ambitious, yada yada yada. So there's really two things I think I do, what I try and do that sort of helps me out. But one is actually around sort of like surrounding myself with people that I trust, and people over the years that sort of believe in me and back me, and who gets the bigger picture. So there's a few people that I have yarns with, that sort of helps me when I'm too deep in the weeds, pull me up to this place of to here. And the other thing that I do is it's hard to explain, but it's kind of, I spend time, when I try to, I spend time marinating myself, sort of in the presence of something that's much bigger than myself. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like oftentimes when you're focused and you're in the weeds, you forget that actually the little steps that we're taking, or this thing that we're actually building, it's a lot bigger than myself. So there's a few, I spiritual disciplines I actually find really helpful. So I catch up with a spiritual director like once a month. So shout out to Ron, shot bro, you're awesome. And he just asks me questions, bigger picture questions, and sort of spiritual disciplines. So like meditation, I try and do that. But in there's this one called the Ignatian meditation, which is like, you sort of imagine yourself in the story, and what are you seeing, what are you hearing? So I guess there are a set of these disciplines that in these times where we have to focus on so much detail, remind me that I belong, or I'm a part of something, or the kaupapa, or the purpose for this thing that I'm doing is so much greater than myself, or or the business, and that really helps pull me back to that space. Yeah, long video, ramble, I don't care. So kids, Theo, Annabelle, Malachi, if you're watching this, yeah, like find, yeah, like sort of walk the tension carefully between the details of the day-to-day and the bigger picture purpose, kaupapa thing that you're drawn into, and maybe set aside disciplines that work for you, to help pull you back when things gets too in the weeds. Might be meditation, might be friends, might be wisdom of elders, who can just remind you, like, this is why you're here. Yeah, anyway, it's 10:30, nothing else to say. Take it or leave it. Ka kite.